Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to another live stream. Now, before we get into this today, make sure you follow me on my Telegram channel. Left a link to that in the live chat and also the description below. Posting a lot of different trade setups there throughout the week, so make sure you go check that out. But like I said, another live stream. Going to talk you through what's happening in the charts today and see if we've got any opportunities coming our way. So first up, like usual, we're going to start with AUD/USD. So for this one, again, price is kind of moving a little bit sideways here, very indecisive. On the daily time frame, you can see price is literally doing bearish candle, bullish candle, bearish candle, bullish candle. So pretty much indecision there. We do have this key level of support, now term resistance just above that area, and price is still rejecting that area. So it just depends if price wants to keep respecting it and then eventually reject it and move away from it, or now go and break it and give us a bigger move to the upside. So that will probably determine the direction for AUD/USD for the rest of the week or the next coming weeks even. But right now, price is kind of still rejecting that area. We do have a little bit of a trend line here on the daily. If I just take it from the bodies of the candles there recently, as you can see, price just keeps bouncing off this trend line. And if you do see a break, so a daily close below this trend line, potentially that could confirm that price is rejecting that daily resistance just above us around 0.76500, and then we could actually see price go and have a nice fall to the downside. However, if we keep squeezing our way up, holding that trend line into that resistance, we could actually push in the other direction and see a bigger move to the upside. But right now, again, price is being very indecisive. We do have this key level of support that price is still hanging on to. I think if this support does break here on the hourly time frame, could actually see price go to the downside here quite nice, because it looks like we've had this impulsive move here. This is consolidation, retracement, preparing for another move to the downside. Or if we take out this resistance up here, it could be price switching direction and seeing another push to the upside. And if you do take out that level, I think we'll probably move back to 0.78, which was around here, which is a strong area of daily resistance. So I'll just take this across. You can see resistance there twice, third time, fourth, fifth time. So again, price has been respecting this level quite well, and price seems to keep drifting towards that level. So if you do take out 0.76500, this resistance here, I do see a nice push to that level up there. But right now, price is moving quite indecisive. You can see we are starting to make some lower highs there in the market. So price is giving us a little bit of a clue that we might break to the downside. As you can see, there's our push there, lower high, lower high. So it does look like we are forming lower highs, but we still do need to take out this key level of support. If we do take out that support, could have a nice breakout to the downside and see price really kick off. We do have that trend line up there, just connecting those two previous swing highs up there. So that could potentially where price wants to go and retest and then maybe see a move lower. Again, we do have this kind of minor area of resistance that could potentially act and send price back down. So we do have a bit of a consolidation there on the hourly. You can see resistance up there, support there, so we might see another swing back into that level. But overall, AUD/USD is moving sideways. A break of that support there, I do see a nice drop to the downside for AUD/USD, potentially back round to around 0.75 or maybe even further. Eurusd, again, similar for this one, a little bit sideways there as well. We've had a big push to the upside in recent weeks for Eurusd, back up to around 1.19. You can see we're tapping into this area here, previous swing high in the market, which did send us to the downside. And as you can see, we tapped into that area, a little bit of reaction. We are forming a trend line now in the market, as you can see, just connecting those recent swing highs there, swing lows there on the hourly chart. So price is pushing to the upside, creating higher highs. So it does look like we might see another retest of that resistance just above us, because price is forming those higher highs coming into that same level, and those higher lows actually. Break above that level, price should go a lot further for Eurusd, and potentially see a bit of a reversal, and price just continue with that overall high time frame trend in like the monthly and the weekly. However, break of this trend line, I do see a nice drop back to the downside, back into this area. As you can see, if I zoom out to the daily, price is making lower lows, lower highs. See nice push, pull back, push, pull back, push. This is either a pullback or a reversal. and that key point there, which I highlighted, could be a point where we look to determine if it is a reversal or just a deeper pullback. But a break of that trend line probably favor more of the pullback and seeing a bigger push to the downside. So that's what I'm thinking for Eurusd. We're still holding to that. We're still holding onto that hourly trend line, so we might see another push to the upside in the next few hours, rest of the day, maybe back into that resistance. But if you do hold and break the trend line, I do see a bigger move towards the downside for Eurusd. Next, we'll take a look at GPUSD. So GPUSD, for this one, looking a little bit bullish here. We did break through this trend line here in the market. As you can see here, first, second, third, broke through, didn't retest it, just collapsed to the downside. We did hold on to this support here in the market. As you can see, we had a bit of a reaction at that level. Does look like, if I jump to the hourly, probably see a little bit better. I'm having a hard time breaking through this resistance here in the market. So break through that resistance, I think GPUSD could see a bigger push to the upside. But right now, it looks like it's trapped between this area of resistance here in the market and this area of support here in the market. So as you can see, you can probably treat that as a bit of a false breakout to the downside. So breakout, retest, continuation, broke back above, and now we're holding in that range again. So GPUSD looks like it's on its way to go and retest that resistance up there. Potentially could see a breakout. If we do, price could probably see a bigger swing to the upside, but it could well reject it again and just see another swing and just continue that range, because as you can see previously, when we were back above that level, we did have that range between that area before collapsing to the downside. So you could see another range between that resistance and that support there again. Overall, on the 4-hourly chart, you can see we did break that trend line. I was expecting GPUSD to go further last week. However, we've had a hard time breaking through that support. So it looks like we're going to see a bigger push to the upside first before coming back down, maybe around into this level here. As you can see, this is our recent swing high in the market. And we did see a lot of bearish momentum to the downside from that area, so it could tap into that before coming back down potentially. But right now, GPUSD is looking a little bit bullish, and we might see a brief push to the upside back into that hourly resistance along here. A potential breakout could take us into that level up there. USD CAD for this one looks like we're climbing slowly to the upside. Again, price action is not the best here for USD CAD in the recent days and weeks. As you can see, price overall is generally sideways there. You can see on the daily, not very clear. Overall, still in that downtrend there. You can see lower lows, lower highs. Still got that bearish structure, failing to get above that 1.26200 level. As you can see, first, second test, get rejected quite nicely. We failed to break through this area of support here in the market, which was our recent swing low, before coming back to retest it. So it does look like potentially we could just see a repeat of the price action we've had on the left here, and just see price slowly come back and go and retest that 1.26200 level again for a third time, because we're struggling to break through that support. So I think I do see USD CAD slowly making its way back up into that area up there. Again, breakout, not too sure. We need a lot of bullish momentum to go and break through that level. You can see on the daily chart, it does have a lot of weight behind it. Support, 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 support. Held that consolidation before we had that nice sharp breakout to the downside. So do need to see a lot of momentum to take that out to the upside. But right now, for USD CAD, since we're holding that area, I might see a bit of retrace. But I think we're probably going to move into that 1.26200 level out there, since we are holding that support. USD this one's still looking bearish here in the market. As you can see, had a little bit of interference at this area of support here. Tested it a few times there, now acting as support. So having a little bit of a hard time breaking through the area. However, again, you can see on the hourly, the price action is still looking very bearish. We held this resistance, failed to break out of it, and price is still making those lower highs. So I do think USD will probably go and break through that support there in the market. So I just redraw that back in. I think USD will probably go and break through this support and see it move back into this level here for USD, since it was kind of giving us those lower highs, indicating that we are going to break to the downside and continue that structure there. On the daily time frame, if I just zoom out, we had this overall kind of swing point here in the market, which I did say in my week analysis. If you do hold underneath this level, you could see further continuation to the downside, and this move here was just a bit of a false breakout for USD here on the daily. Because as you can see, when we did test this area, we did see a sharp movement to the downside, with that bearish momentum. And then here we actually broke through that level, then failed to hold above it, and then collapsed right back down. So it does look like that was a bit of a false move to the upside, false move up, big move back down. It looks like we are holding that as resistance. You can see on the hourly we're holding it as resistance. So I do see some continuation to the downside for USD back into around this area here in the market. So biases to the downside. Unless we get back above the area, then I'll probably look to change my bias. But right now I do see further continuation to the downside for USD CHF for this one, we'll come back into this area of support. So again, it just depends whether price wants to hold this support or break through this support. So I just go on the daily chart. You can see price did hold this area of support here in the market. So just clear out the chart for a second. You can see the price was holding that support quite nicely, gave us that consolidation before taking off to the upside. And now we're back at that same level there again. You can see the final test, the third test, we did see a big injection of bullish momentum from that level. So it does have a lot of weight behind it. Again, it just depends if price wants to hold this level or not. You can see we did see a big drop to the downside in recent weeks and days as well for USD. So it just depends whether price wants to hold or break through that level. Right now on the hourly, looks like we're having those bounces, so it'd be nice to see if price was to go and retest it again for a second time, show that it's failing to break through, potentially break through this trend line here in the market. So as you can see, first, second, third, fourth, fifth test. So it'd be nice to break through that trend line there, hold above it, and then that will potentially mean that price is holding that support and could actually see a bigger move to the upside for USD back into this area here and just complete the range in the market. Because as you can see, previously support, 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 now turn resistance, resistance, resistance. So that was our range when we were trading in this area. Now we're back in. We could potentially expect price to go and fill that range back to the upside, back to around 0.93 to 80. So break through that trend line, good probability of price pushing to the upside back into that area. However, of course, it can still break through that support, and if it does, it probably will hang onto that trend line anyway. So it won't really give us a good opportunity, and the price will probably actually push further to the downside there. Next, we're going to take a look at USD. So USD, again, similar to AUD, these pairs here, we're moving very, very sideways. You can see on the hourly time frame, again, just up and down, up and down. Clear level of resistance up here, clear level of support across here. Prices failed to break through. Do have a bit of a trend line here in the market connecting those wicks there. Looks like price is having to test that trend line. If it does break through it, I do see another swing back up to this area here. Hang on to it, might see another swing back down, give us another lower high there, and potentially just consolidate around that area below the trend line and above that support. But right now, as you can see, for hourly chart, we did get a strong bullish candle, so could actually see just another swing to the upside, just continue that range between 0.7066 and 0.7011. So key level support resistance breaks through that support. We do have a nice potentially clean drop to the downside for USD back into this area here. As you can see, we've had this impulsive leg. This is probably the retracement, so potentially you could see a breakout to the downside back into that level there. So that's what could be happening there for USD. But right now, as you can see, we are hanging on to that support there, and it looks like we might actually see a swing all the way up to that resistance up there if we do break through that trend line. But right now, USD is looking bullish on the hourly and still hanging on to that support. So for now, we'll probably expect to see further continuation to the upside or sideways, similar to AUD like we just reviewed earlier. CAD, again, another USD pair for this one. As you can see, price is still moving a little bit funny here. Again, did have a big push to the upside, did hang on to this area of support here. Again, looking quite bullish there with that close. So does look like price probably wants to move back into those highs up there, potentially even further if it does break through it. Again, similar to USD, as we had this big impulsive move, this could here just be the retrace for another push back down. But again, does not look like the retrace is over just yet. It does look like we did have a bit of a double top there. As you can see, tested it once, tested it twice, broke through the neckline. So it is indicating that the pullback could be finishing soon. But with this price action, it could be another push up first, maybe some new highs before coming back down for CAD. So do need to be aware of that, because again, a lot of momentum behind that candle there, holding onto that support, could see another push back into those highs for NZD CAD. NZD JPY for this one, again, it's not really moving as similar to NZD CAD and NZD USD. Did have that big drop though, a bit of a steeper retracement. Our price is kind of just slowly moving towards the downside. You can see there on the daily, big push to the downside, making those lower, making a new low. So that potentially here could be our new lower high. So for that reason, could actually expect NZD JPY to continue to the downside, all the way back to this level, all the way down here. Potentially break through it, potentially not too sure, probably cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now price is moving to the downside, creating lower lows, lower highs. So you can see push, pull back, push, pull back. So far it is having a push, but it doesn't have much steam behind it. As you can see on the hourly, is moving very, very correctively. So it could mean that we might have another push up first before pushing back down. But I think as long as price does stay below this previous lower high here in the market for NZD JPY, I do see further continuation to the downside for this pair. So it could be a situation where we do have another push up to test that, maybe double top, triple top, shows that it's failing to break through that area of resistance. And from there, we could actually expect to see the market fall back to the downside and give us a bigger move. Because right now on the hourly, it's having a really hard time pushing lower. So we might see a brief pullback first back into that area and then see price collapse to the downside. Take out that level, however, could actually see the opposite happen and see price come back into this resistance up here, because we kind of do have a major area of support here in the market. As you can see, we've had a big push to the upside from this area, big push down, big push back up. So that's probably why it's having such a hard time trying to break through that area. But if it does manage to, I do see a nice drop into around that area there and just continue that push to the downside, pullback, giving us that lower high. And now see the continuation to the downside. So that is what I'm favouring for NZD JPY. And again, as long as it stays up below that level there, so shows rejection, can expect to see that continuation to the downside. GP AUD for this pair, slowly moving to the upside. Again, not as clean as some of the other pairs that we looked at. Price action is still very, very corrected there in the market. This pair has a really key level around 1.8 key level support and resistance here in the market on the daily time frame. As you can see, resistance once, twice, false breakout, resistance there again. Held as support, gave us a nice push into around 1.8 to 570. Came right back down, did close below, so potentially could have gave us a big move to the downside. However, it did stay above. Again, if you do draw a trend line in, we can see that price action just held onto our trend line and kept us giving that push to the upside. So if we do hold into the trend line and hold above this area, I do see another push to the upside for GPAD back into this area here. Again, very key level 1.8. Price is currently trading above that area, showing that we are holding onto that support. So I do see a push back into that resistance there for GPAUD if we maintain that support and maintain that trend line. We do have this bearish trend line that could cause some interference there. So we just drop to the hourly chart, so you can see first, second, coming into our third test there. So that might cause a little bit of interference there for GPAUD. Might actually send it back down first before continuing. But if you do break through that trend line, that potentially is kind of our last kind of major obstacle. And I do feel like GPAUD does have a good probability of pushing back into the highs up at around 1.82610 and potentially even further if it just maintains that overall bullish structure there on the daily. You can see new high, new low, new high, new low, new high, potentially new low. So after that, can potentially expect to see price go and retest that previous high or give us a new high at around 1.83. So overall price is still looking bullish here for GPAD. We're holding above that key level 1.8. Again, that trend line, break through it, does have a good chance of seeing that continuation into that level there. GPNZD for this one's actually not as looking, even though GPAD and GPNZD do move quite similar, they do have some opposing technical aspects looking at them right now, because GPNZD, although on the daily has been moving to the upside as well, the current price action on the fly is looking a little bit more bearish than GPAD, which is actually looking more bullish, because you can see here we have this consolidation here on the 4 hourly just above this level here, which is around 1.96090. So we're holding to that support. We actually collapsed the downside and now we're actually retesting that as resistance. So GPNZD is showing that potentially could see a move to the downside, whilst GPAUD is actually showing us that we can see a move to the upside. So it does have some opposing technical aspects there, but it could mean that GPNZD trade might fall to the downside, and actually could see a break above this support, a resistance, so it acts as support and that trend line, and from then on, then I could see GPNZD pushing to the upside back into these highs here, and then this breakout to the downside, which is the false breakout, and then we can expect prices to fill in the range to the upside. So that could be what's happening there, since they do differ, but again, they do move in the same direction. If GPAUD is going to move up, there's a good chance GPNZD is going to follow that path and move to the upside as well. So again, GPNZD is trading at a key level, so just need to see if price does sustain rejecting that level, or if it does actually go and break through it as support, hold it as support, and then we could see a nice swing back to the upside, back to around 1.98180, which is this resistance up here. So key level there to watch out for GPNZD. If we do maintain holding as resistance, then there's a good chance we'll probably see another push to the downside and tap back into this support here in the market, because as you can see, gave us a big push to the upside, so it could come back down and retest that support. If we do get above it, then I do see a nice push to the upside, filling that range and pushing back into that resistance up there. GPJPY, this one is looking bearish here. We do have a key level in the market here, which I just deleted. So around this area here, so you can see support, resistance, support, resistance. So it does have a key level. Price keeps retesting this level for GPJPY, holding on to it. And as you can see, before we had this big drop to the downside, we did gap down, retest that area as resistance, and then see some nice continuation to the downside for GPJPY. So GPJPY, we are still holding on to this area, and I do think we could see a move to the downside if we do take out this trend line here in the market. So if I just draw that in there, connecting these lows on the hourly time frame. So again, first, second, third. If we do take out this trend line, it means that this level here is holding as resistance, and then I do see a nice push back into this support here for GPJPY, because it means that level is holding as resistance, and we could see a nice rejection to the downside, just completing that impulsive move. This is the retrace, then another impulsive move to the downside. So for GPJPY, I'm expecting to see continuation to the downside as long as we stay below that resistance. So we hold it as resistance and we take out that trend line, then we've got a good chance of seeing that continuation to the downside back into that area. However, if we do get back above this could be classified as a false breakout, and with that information could actually see another push back into this area here in the market, which was our previous swing high before creating this high, and could see it move back until 152.335. So that's where I do expect to see price go if we get back above that area. But as you can see with the 4 hourly candles, it does look like we're wicking into that area, showing rejection, and a break of that hourly trend line could be like the final confirmation for that move to the downside. So that's what I'm favoring for GPJPY. We could potentially actually break through that and go a little bit further, but again, not gonna call that yet. Need a little bit more development on that, but right now price is looking a little bit bearish for GJ if you do take out that trend line, and could see a nice push into that level. So I hope that analysis gave you some clarity there on GPJPY. Eurogbp, which again another GBP pair, this one looking quite bearish right now. I did say a weekly analysis to look out for this one around this level here, because if I just move to the left, you can see we do have this key level of support here in the market, and if I just take that across, you can see we are actually testing that as resistance now. So just textbook break and retest really on the daily time frame. And if we do hold into this area, you can actually see price go a lot further, because first time we did reject this area, we did see quite a nice rejection there on the 4 hourly time frame. So if I just take this across, you can see we held this area, had a really nice move to the downside to hold this as support. We did hold that as consolidation, broke to the downside, sharp moving back up, and now as you can see we're kind of wicking into that area. Strong rejection candle yesterday, I believe, with this bearish candle here for Eurogp, and it looks like we are rolling over to the downside. So Eurogp here, I am favouring a move to the downside for this pair. Again, you can see we're holding on to this strong level of resistance here. Prior support on the daily, now time resistance, just break and retest, and now we're back at that same level again. So I do see a move to the downside for Eurogp. Again, potentially all the way back down to this area here if we do get below this level. So as you can see, resistance, support. Get below that level, I do see a nice movement to the downside, back down to around 0.85530. So key level of support here in the market was actually resistance when we did see this move back down. Sharp move back above. I think break through that level there. Clear move down to that area for Eurogp. Since we didn't even retest it, we did have this impulsive move to the upside. As you can see, there was no retest of that level at all. So we could actually see that retest come down if we do break through that support for Eurogp. So since we are holding onto that daily area, which is this area here, I do feel like we're going to see a move to the downside for Eurogp back into that level there potentially. Next, going to take a look at Euro NZD. So Euro NZD, we've had a sharp movement to the downside there. Price is still kind of hanging onto this trend line here in the market. So again, it's having a bit of interference there. On the higher time frames, it looks like we're having a bit of a reversal for Euro NZD. So I think higher time frames, daily, weekly, my bias is the upside here. However, we're having a hard time holding or breaking through this resistance here in the market. Again, it is a strong area of resistance that did give us this downtrend to the downside. So although we've had this impulsive move retrace, you do expect to see the continuation breaking through that resistance, giving us some new highs. But we do need to see price actually take out that resistance. If we don't take that trend line, could actually see price move to the downside there for EURNZD, potentially back into this area here in the market, or maybe even further. But right now, you can see on the Friday chart, strong bearish engulfing candle there coming into that trend line. All depends if that trend line wants to hold or break through. Will probably determine the direction for the rest of the day anyway, or maybe even the rest of the week potentially, because if we do fail to break through that resistance down the daily, you could actually see another push back into that area there, maybe hold it as support, give us a little bit of a range. But right now USD is looking bearish here. I might see a continuation up. Yeah, GBJPY isn't probably the clearest one, because we've had this big impulsive move and haven't actually seen much retrace relative to some other moves there in the market. So you see we did collapse to the downside, is moving a little bit messy there, but I still do believe if you do break through that trend line, we'll probably see a nice move into that area. But then again, obviously I could be wrong. Just using analysis, don't expect to be right all the time. But again, if we do hold on that resistance, break through the trend line, I do see a move into that area, but again, it is moving a bit choppy, so it could give us a few false breakouts before the actual breakout, so you need to be aware of that. And of course, if you do hold to the trend line, I could actually see a move in the opposite direction, but again, GJ probably not the clearest pair out there right now, since it's moving very choppy, but I think we could be in for a move to the downside if we do take out that trend line. But again, we might not even do that. To be fair, we could actually just take out our resistance and move to the other side, which is still very much a possibility for that pair. Looking at another JPY pair, EuroJPY, this one's actually looking quite bearish here in the market. We do still have this key level here intact, which we did see a bit of a false breakout not too long ago. So again, it was from our recent swing high in the market. So again, just taking that across from this level here, you can see did act as resistance, gave us a nice push to the downside all the way to that support there. So just carry on taking that along, and you can see the market has tested that level numerous times. I think if we do see another breakout of that same level there in the market, I am favouring price to give us a bigger move into this level and give us a bit of a range for EuroJPY, because as you can see, when we did break to the upside, break back below, hold it as resistance, we did collapse to the downside. I think we could see a repeat of that price action and give us a nice move to the downside as well. You can see if I jump to the hourly, we are getting some lower highs there in the market. So there's our high there, push the downside, new low. There's a lower high, and again potentially another lower high there. So I do see that price action continuing for EuroJPY. Might see a bit more retrace, give us another lower high around about here, potentially around here, another lower high, and then see that continuation to the downside. And if you do keep up that structure, there's a good chance that price will probably break through that support and see a bigger move to the downside for Eurojpy. But again, the key technical aspect we do need to break through is that support there around 130 or 129.995 to be a bit more precise. So key level of support, I think if you do break through it and hold, of course not just one candle, because we did see that one candle close below here, then the next candle close right back above. So if you do see the candle close below, show rejection so that we get wicks, rejecting it, holding, and then we'll potentially see that bigger move to the downside. But right now, Eurojpy is technically moving sideways there on the 4 hourly, but a break of that support, we could see a bigger move to the downside and see a bit of a reversal, because it does look like Eurojpy is running out a bit of steam and could see the market take off in the opposite direction to the downside. So do need to watch out for that. CAD-JPY, this one is looking bearish again, another JPY pair. As you can see, we had this recent high here in the market. We did get to it, again, create a new high just about, had a bit of consolidation. Price was having a hard time finding out whether it's going to move to the upside or to the downside. Eventually did collapse to the downside, had a bit of a pullback. This here looks like potentially another lower high there in the market. So I do see potentially price moving back down to this area here for CAD-JPY. Treating this movement to the upside as a bit of retrace and expecting to see another push back down into this area here for Eurojpy. You can see on the hourly time frame, price is having a hard time pushing higher. We recently pushed down, made another lower high, and I do see that continuation happening to the downside. So bias for CAD-JPY is very much to the downside. Looking at the price action we're getting now back into this area here. Again, if you do break through that support there in the market, you'll probably have a bigger move on our hands for CAD-JPY, potentially a bit of a reversal after the big push we've had to the upside over the past few days, few weeks. But I do expect to see further continuation to the downside for CAD-JPY now, since we're getting that very, very bearish price action there in the market. So bias is very much to the downside there for CAD-JPY. And if you take a look at GP CAD, so CAD there again, you can see the weakness of CAD is really affecting GP CAD there. Price is pushing to the upside quite rapidly there. Again, we have this support that price did break below, but it could be a bit of a false breakout there, catching people on the wrong side of the market. As you can see, we did push the upside very strongly in the opposite direction. So quick false breakout there, and it looks like with that CAD weakness we're seeing, GP CAD is flying to the upside. So we do have a little bit of a minor level going through the market here. As you see, support, 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 support. So if you do break above that level, I do see a nice continuation into around 1.74500 and a nice continuation to the upside. If you do manage to break through this kind of mid-level between that support and that resistance up there. So bias is to the upside for GP CAD. If we can make it above that level, it could be a situation where we do pull back, maybe have a bit more retrace in the market, because again, it does have some weight behind it. But if we do see a nice strong close above, then we see the market holding above it as support, then we could probably expect GP CAD to continue its journey to the upside, back into that resistance all the way up there, and just see that overall continuation there in the market, because GP CAD is looking very, very strong, and CAD across a lot of pairs is looking quite weak. Again, looking at AD CAD here, you can see a push to the upside there. And again, we were looking at NZD CAD there as well, which did see a very strong close, which is all pushed to the upside. So across the board, it does look like we've got a very weak CAD there in the market, and it is affecting the other markets as well. Again, USD CAD, we were expecting to see that continuation to the upside for USD CAD here. And I think that CAD weakness will probably help its journey. So expecting USD CAD to push back into that level there, like I said earlier. Again, we're having such a hard time breaking through this support. I feel like USD CAD could be in a potentially bit of a counter trend move to the upside, bit of a reversal, having a bit of a breather after this long downtrend we've seen in the market, and could actually see a move in the opposite direction. So expecting to see another test of 1.26200, which is this resistance here in the market for USD CAD, and potentially a breakout, but we'll have to watch out there, because it could be a triple top reversal there. So I have to watch out for both possibilities, but I do feel like we're going to get another retest of that area for USD CAD. So currently not any trades in the moment, looking at some other pairs, see if you can get a bit more clarity there in the market. So we're seeing a lot of consolidation and some of the major pairs here. Eurusd, USD CAD not looking that good either. USJPY, although I do see further continuation to the downside for USJPY, but again, is moving a little bit choppy there in the market. GPUSD, again, not as clear as some of the other pairs that we looked at. A little bit in an area of indecision in that range, so I need to see how price gets on there. Again, if you guys want me to take a look at any different pairs that you're currently trading or looking to trade today or this week, just drop it in the live chat and I'll make sure I'll give you some analysis on those pairs that you're looking to trade. And if you're in any trades yourself as well, feel free to share, take a look at them, see how they're going, see potential targets for that trade as well, if it is running well. But yeah, just looking at some other pairs, see how they will get on. And if you guys want me to take a look at any other pairs as well, just let me know and I'll make sure I'll give you some analysis on those pairs. Okay, so we're going to take a quick look at EURUSD. Okay, so for EURUSD, for this one, again, we've had overall, I'll start on the daily actually. Overall, you can see we have a bearish trend here, price making lower lows, lower highs here in the market. Recently, we've had this pullback to the upside. This is either a pullback or a reversal. We've come to a key level here in the market. You can see they give us this big move to the upside from that same level. So could either potentially be a pullback or a reversal. However, right now, price is running out of steam here on the 4H. On moving to the upside, you can see we do have a key level of resistance here, which is kind of like our last major swing high to the upside before we did see that big drop to the downside there. So price is kind of just tapped into that area, having a hard time pushing on. We do have this trend line here on the 4H, which price keeps testing, keeps moving along to the upside. And I think if we do eventually go and break through this trend line, we could see a nice drop to the downside, potentially back to that area there on the daily. So support, bit of a false breakout. But I do think we can see a nice drop back into this level with a break of that trend line, because it does show that potentially this area here is our lower high. So you can see there was our double top up there. Then that was our lower high there technically. Push to the downside. Now this is our lower high around here. Now we're going to see the continuation to the downside. So that is what I'm favoring for EURUSD. However, if we do maintain trading above that trend line, so price maintains respect for that trend line, we could easily see another push to the upside and another test of that level. So kind of a break of that trend line, we probably could give ourselves a nice confirmation that EURUSD could be moving towards the downside and see a bigger push back into that area. However, if we do maintain respect, like I said, we could easily just continue moving in this kind of corrective price action here, keep on moving to the upside, test that resistance again, and potentially even break through it. And at that point, we could be looking at a reversal. So key aspect to break is that trend line. If you do break it, hold that as resistance, so retest it. Then we could be looking for those continuations back down to around 1.7710. So that is what I'm favoring for USD. Might see another push to the upside first if you do maintain respect for that trend line. But if I do see a nice break of that, another pullback, could see the continuation back down to that area. So that is what I'm favoring for EURUSD. We're holding that key level, potentially lower high, and a break of that trend line could send us to the downside. So that is what I'm favoring for EURUSD. I hope that analysis did help. Okay, so we're going to take a look at GBP/USD. Okay, so for GBP/USD, like I said earlier, we're in a bit of a range here in the market. So yes, we have come back into this area of resistance here in the market. You see previously 1, 2, fell to the downside, back at it again, retested it, fell to the downside, now we'll kind of retest there again. So yes, we can be seeing a move to the downside if you do hold that as resistance. If I move to the lower times like 30, 15, you can really see you get a bit of a bearish reaction from that area. So we could be seeing a move to the downside for GBP/USD. But again, I wouldn't be too overconfident with this price action we're getting here for GBP/USD. It could just be a swing back down to this level. So that's probably got to be your target, or at least target one. If you're looking to short this pair, again, stop loss just above that high there with that wick, so around there. So yeah, target one will probably have to be there. If a break of that level could take us back down to this area here on the 4-hourly, so if I just go on the hourly, zoom out a little bit, back down to these lows here. So when we did break through that support, we did see a nice push into that level. So if we do see that happen for GBP/USD, then that could be your target too for this trade. But you have to be aware that if you do see a nice push into this downside, into the downside, and that level holds, could see price turn quickly against you. and actually push back into where you enter the market. So you're probably looking to take profit around about this level if you're looking to short that pair, with stops just above there, and again that could be target 1, target 2, and then potentially target 3 could be a break of that low, and just continue with this overall bearish structure we're seeing here for GPUSD. But right now we are holding that resistance here on the hourly. Again, it's only 10 minutes in, so there's still a lot of trading left to go before the hourly candle does close. It could still close bullish, could close as doji, or could continue moving bearish. And I always use closed candles, because again, open candles do tell lies a lot of the time. They could be pushing your direction, and then when you take the trade 10 minutes later, it's actually closed the opposite color, so it's closed bearish or something. So I always wait for a closed candle. So if you're going to trade like 30 minutes or 15, wait for the 15 or 30 minute close. If you're trading hourly, probably have to wait for 12, which is about 50 minutes before that candle close, to get the best chance that you're moving in the right direction. So probably wait for that, in my opinion, if you're trading the hourly chart anyway. But yeah, first target has to be that support there, because that could reject us and see price move to the upside, break through that level, then that's probably target 2, and target 3 could be a little bit below that level if you do take out those lows. But it does have some nice downside potential. I reckon from a 4-hourly perspective, if you do hold that resistance, I do see GPUSD falling to the downside, back down to those lows here, since we did see a nice break of that 4-hourly trend line there. So I think we are in a bearish market here for GPUSD, and could see the market move a lot further. But it does look like a good opportunity, but just be aware the market could send it going back up if we do reject that area of support. So I hope that analysis did help for GPUSD.
Yo, what's up guys? It's Miko Forex, aka GBP Legend, aka Sniper Trader, aka King of Blues. And yeah.
Okay, so it's just gone 12 p.m, so I'm going to look to end the live stream shortly. Like usually, going to do a quick rundown of some of the pairs that we looked at earlier, see how they got on, and take a look, got any opportunities coming up later today or later this week. So let's start with AUD/USD. So you can see if this one's still trapped in that range there on the 5-day time frame, clear level of support here in the market, clear level of resistance. If we do break through that support, again, I'm favouring a bigger move towards the downside for AUD/USD back into these lows down here, potentially even further, because again, does look like we potentially could be having a reversal on the daily, because we did break through this trend line here in the market. Just draw that in. You can see first test there, second, third, broke through that. Looks like I have a bit of consolidation in preparation for a move lower. But of course, you do need to take out that support there in the market first, and you can see we did get a bit of an engulfing candle there on the 4-hourly at that support. So far it is holding. We do need to take out that level. We are getting some lower highs there in the market, so it is indicating that there's a good chance we could break through it. Might see a retest of that trend line first, but overall, if you take out that support, I think there's a good probability of AUD/USD falling to the downside, back down to around 0.75400. Eurusd, again, 4-hourly time frame is losing a bit of steam towards the upside. You can see clear level of resistance there, nice drop to the downside, held the support, big push back up again. However, we are losing that momentum and slowly climbing to the upside. I think a break of this trend line, a strong break, probably a 4-hourly close, and a retest. We could see a nice continuation and a nice move lower, because that probably could be our lower high there in the market. As you can see, after that double top, we have this lower high here, nice move lower. This could be potentially our next lower high, and then we could see another move lower. So if we do break that trend line, that could be like the last obstacle that we do need to get past, and then Eurusd could be on its way back down. However, if we do maintain respect for that trend line, we could see this price slowly climb back up and go and retest the resistance just above. GBP/USD, again, this one in a little bit of a range here. You can see if we look left, price was in a nice range here not too long ago in this area between that resistance and that support. But back in that area again, we did see a very strong bearish candle close just now for GBP/USD. So it looks like it's going to have at least have an attempt at trying breaking through that support. You see the current candles already had a wick below the area, so we are trying to break through it. Again, if you do see a nice breakthrough, I do see a move into these lows again for GBP/USD, and potentially price moving a lot lower to the downside. So bias is, I would say, potentially downside, but we do need to break through that support there on the hourly time frame. If we do hold it, we could easily see another swing back to the upside and just see a continuation of the range that we had earlier on. But a nice break of that support, I do see a nice drop back into that support and potentially even lower. USD/CAD, again, looking bullish. We did say we do expect to see further continuation to the upside for USD/CAD, back into this resistance, back into 1.26 400, which is what 200 around this resistance here. Again, not sure if we're going to get a breakout or just another swing basically, and just continue a range between this support and that resistance. But nonetheless, price is looking bullish. I do think we get another test that resistance for USD/CAD and see price continue in that direction. USD/JPY looking bearish here. As you can see earlier, we did say we're getting lower highs here in the market. Failure to break through this resistance here. Nice push to the downside, another lower high there in the market. And so again, that continuation. So USD/JPY favoring a move back into the support here, and actually a break to the downside back into around this area here in the market, which was our previous support before we had this big move to the upside. So USD/JPY does look like it's on its way down to around 108.525. And finally, USD/CHF as well. Like I said, we do see a break of that trend line. We're back at that key level of daily support. You see test there, back at that area again. A break of that trend line could indicate a nice push higher. Well, it means that price is struggling to break through that support. So if you do break above this area of this trend line, which we had 1, 2, 3, 4, currently having our 5th test that trend line. If you do break this trend line, I do see a nice swing back up to around 0.93240, which is that resistance there, which held this range. So again, resistance, resistance, resistance. I think we'd see another continuation of that range that we had between that support and that resistance. But a key break of that trend line is kind of like the last obstacle we have in that way before we do get that swing, because again, that trend line could send us back down into that support. So potentially could get another move back into that support, hold it as resistance, hold it as support, sorry, maybe a bit of a double bottom, and then we could take off higher. But if we do take off higher now and break through the trend line, could give us a nice opportunity to go long if we do hold that trend line now as support, and could see just another continuation to the upside back into around 0.93240. So bias is to the upside if we get break of that trend line. However, we're still rejecting it, so we need to wait for that. So I hope that analysis helped on USDCHF there. So that currently is the end of the live stream. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it useful. Make sure again you join me tomorrow, again same time as usual, for Wednesday morning, and make sure you go subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on the video if you're feeling generous. Make sure you check out me on Instagram. I've got that handle in the description below, and check out my Telegram channel, again description below as well. But thanks again for watching, guys, and until the next one, I will see you guys later.